Hello? I think I should have volume now. I did not realize I muted my mic. Yeah. Okay, I need a checklist for sure. Something to improve on. And probably get someone to check my live streams as well. Thanks, Apple, for letting me know. Okay, awesome. Check 1, 2, 3. All right, let's start from the beginning then. So I had my practice run for my intro, and now I get to do it all over again. Oh yeah, cool, awesome. So, hello everybody. In case you haven't met, I'm Adam Zainuddin, and today I want to introduce myself, and also I want to share why I'm doing what I'm doing on this YouTube channel. And my mission is to simplify video for creators. I'm really passionate and I'm a big believer in the creator economy. I do believe that it's been booming the past 5 years, and it is potentially, even bigger than what we can imagine. And I think that a lot more people can be involved in it and benefit from it greatly. And I also want to empower people to do that. I'm also very passionate about this concept of decentralizing knowledge, and all of us have this ability to use video as a method to share our knowledge and our expertise, and we can repackage that into bite-sized, meaningful, consumable content, and in the long run, maybe even turn that into an actual business, or maybe package it into a product or service. So I really, really want to explore this myself, and also I've tried some experiments in the past, and I want to share with you how I've done it. And hopefully more people can get on board into this amazing creator economy. So I am also going to share with you today why I'm going live. I've been going live quite a bit the past few months, and now I want to include this as part of my content strategy here on this YouTube channel. And it's a way for me to connect with my audience more directly. I also want to find ways to practice my storytelling and also my presentation skills when going live. It's basically unscripted. Anything can go wrong. As you can tell just now, if you were joining me earlier, I didn't have my audio on. And that's just what happens when you go live. So better catch me live next time, because I'm not going to edit it. And I'm also using live streams as a way to explore certain topics that is not so favorable in the YouTube search. And this way, people who already subscribe or have been following my content more closely, we get to talk more about other topics that is just a bit more niche, but very important. So stay tuned for more of these. And I also want to see if I can experiment and be more consistent and do more weekly based content, because that's the topic for today. Actually, I am struggling a lot when it comes to posting consistently on YouTube, and part of that reason is, well, lots of reasons. One of them is because I'm also trying to experiment with different things, and I'm trying to increase my quality of my video production and just my content overall. And it's also about how do I write better, how do I make better thumbnails, how do I deliver my message more concisely, how do I add some emotional story beats into my video as well. So all these things, right? And so without further ado, let's get into the topic right away. And why did I choose this topic? Consistency versus quality, or rather quantity versus quality, right? So there's this quote: done is better than perfect. And I got this from Sheryl Sandberg, from her book, Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. The thing is, I keep hearing this quote or this statement being shared across different platforms and being said by different entrepreneurs and leaders and coaches, even other content creators. So it's been said more than once. And this is trying to project the idea that, if you are trying to not just create content, but just getting into a new routine or creating a new habit, it's often better that you just start messy, go scrappy, and just go with it. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Don't wait until it reaches a superbly high level of quality, but it's through repetition. The argument is that if with enough repetition and by you taking action, you actually will learn way more and you get to improve at a much faster rate. So that's the argument. And when it comes to YouTube or even any other social media platforms, whether Instagram or LinkedIn, whatever, people always have this argument. Okay, how much you should post, how much you should upload, how consistently, how many times a week, right? And then there'll be some YouTube experts will say things like, who cares? Just do it when you're first starting out. Just go all out. Do as much as you can. Like I said, that's the only way you can learn. Start messy. But I want to challenge that because it's not that straightforward, especially to beginners, right? And let's go through some examples and we're going to see the argument for, okay, what about quality? Because at the same time, people say, hey, post more consistently. It doesn't matter if it's not good. Post 100 crappy videos or post 50 crappy videos. You will learn so much by doing so. You will get so much data for you to plan and strategize your next moves. On the other hand, at the same time, they'll tell you, but don't forget quality. Don't compromise quality. I don't know about you guys. That sounds confusing. How much is too much? Like, there's no value to it. How do I know it's this much of audio improvement I should put versus, let's delay that one release. If I'm posting 4 times a month, I'm gonna just post 3 times because, hey, I just realized that by doing that, by reducing that one, I could improve my maybe editing, 0.5% more for each video. Just put some random number there. Because again, it's hard to measure, right? And so here's some examples and why it's so difficult to even try to post consistently. And I'm drawing from my own experience as well and my own observation and discussion with other creators. The first most obvious one is that life just happens. Despite all the best planning and processes you have in place, life can just throw you a curveball and then just change your plans. So when I came on this live stream before, I was scheduling it at a certain time and then something happened. My son decided to throw a tantrum and then I gotta deal with it. And then while I was dealing with it, I was staring at the clock and I'm like, ooh, am I gonna make it? I scheduled the live stream and it's gonna start at this time. 10 more minutes. Okay, let me see how long I can do this. Oh no, we're going to bed. And he's like tossing and turning around and complaining that he wants to watch more TV. Great. 5 minutes to go. What do I do? Do I get angry? Do I find a storybook and just read it out loud even though he says no? So there's just so many things that just came out last minute, right? And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to delay the live stream. I'm going to go into my YouTube settings. I'm going to change the schedule, release time. So that happened. And then it turns out that, he went to sleep. So you know what? I'm just going to go live anyway. 15 minutes late, but whatever, right? And then as some of you may know, if you joined earlier, my audio was messed up. I forgot to do one thing out of all the processes I have. I guess for live stream, I don't have a really good process yet. I haven't gotten any checklist or anything documented for me to refer to so that I can switch off my brain and just look there. Okay, check. Yeah, everything's through memory right now. Not good. So anyway, that's for another day. So I also have another thing that happened. Like, for example, recently my wife got injured. Knee injury. We don't know what happened. Had to go to the doctor. Had to change our schedules. Don't know what's going to happen with how we deal with the kids and work. And for me, it's YouTube as well. And then it's something I have to deal with. There's also the emotional stress from it. Like, we don't know the test results. We have got to wait for a while. and then gotta shuffle around my work schedule and my YouTube stuff. So there's all that wrapped into it. And when you're emotionally stressed, you're gonna have a hard time focusing on this content creation thing. It's a creative process, so it's very difficult for you to get the ball rolling like that, at least from my experience. Okay, and so that's just it. Things can happen anytime. Emergencies can happen anytime, and small things can disrupt your flow. The other thing that could happen, especially if you're here in Malaysia, we have a lot of public holidays. And you might be thinking, public holidays? Isn't that great? You don't have to deal with work. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, go ask any parent who has small kids. Usually, you gotta deal with the kids even more when it's public holiday. The nurseries are closed, at least here in this country. We don't have a proper babysitter system anyway, unless you have certain contacts or family members or friends. And even then, money. And so there's also the guilt from being a parent, and you're supposed to spend more time with your kids, and this is the opportunity. At the same time, it's going to be a lot of traffic, depending on where you stay and what you plan to do and how long is the holiday and what kind of holiday. So all of a sudden, you have to project manage this in your head. And so that becomes one of the things that just adds more to the complexity. So public holiday doesn't always mean great things, right? At least for people who have kids, in my opinion, especially if they're younger ones. And then, speaking of work has its own challenges. If you're juggling between doing YouTube or any content creation on the side, at the same time you have your main job can also throw all sorts of random emergencies and curveballs your way. And this is a natural stress as well. Some jobs are seasonal, maybe towards the end of the month, there might be more things for you depending on your role. Maybe at the end of quarter or start a new quarter, there could be some other things you have to prepare for. Whatever. It could be work emergencies as well, right? And so there's all this stress that's also beyond your control, and at the same time, you got to deal with it. And then the second part, another dilemma that I find is that besides quantity, like I mentioned before, quality is also something that everyone tells you cannot compromise. And it's funny because at the same time, there's a third thing they throw at you. They say, oh, but at the same time, you got to learn to mix things up. When you're doing content, you got to experiment. And then, based on your data that you have, you got to test your theories. And then, just because one video does successfully and you have a few ideas and assumptions as to why it was successful, you got to repeat those either similar topics or whatever angle that you think you suspected is causing that success, and see whether you can replicate that success. And that takes time and takes extra planning. And when you're doing experiments, a lot of things can go wrong. So you need time to analyze the data. You need time to brainstorm new ideas. And then depending on what kind of changes you're doing or what kind of new format that you're doing, it can get very tricky very quickly. And that can also derail your consistency when you're uploading or creating content. So those two major examples, I feel, and the other sub-examples within them is the one that's going to paint this picture for this particular argument that we're having. Or rather, it's not an argument, it's a conversation. It's a conversation where I'm challenging this whole concept of quantity versus quality. And let's lean towards one or the other just to run some simulations and keep our discussion going, okay? Let's say, what happens when you favor quality first? So it's naturally going to take longer for you to produce whatever content you're doing. But at the same time, you feel good knowing you give it your all. You did your best with whatever resources you have and whatever skill and experience level you have. But if your video doesn't perform well, you're going to feel sucky after that. And this is part of the maturing process of being a content creator. It's part of the journey. You got to learn to roll with that. You got to understand that, okay, I'm going to do some experiments and, I'm going to guess certain things, and I have to be okay with the fact that I checked something, I tried something, it didn't work out, let's move on. right? So that's a muscle that you gotta train as a content creator. That's a mindset thing, and that's gonna take time. The other thing is that you have to constantly deal with this reality, and then at the same time, there'll be less room for experiments anyway, since you still need to have a decent amount of data points. What I mean is that you can't make certain assumptions until there's enough repetition of it. And so there's this weird thing where you need to do a certain more amount of quantity in order for you to gather more data anyway. So then the whole quality argument becomes a bit shaky, right? And one more thing, and this is an advice that a lot of creators like to give, and I have tried this myself. When you want to be ahead in your content schedule and avoid it from being a content hamster wheel, you want to try to create batch production process. So what it means is like you create multiple pieces of content in one shot before releasing it, before publishing it. So you schedule this content ahead of time. The problem with this is that it requires quite intense level of focus, and it takes a few hours of uninterrupted flow for you to really benefit from this batch processing. So the idea is that you sit down within X amount of hours and you're going to record 4 videos in one shot, for example. That's a lot of work, but it's compressed into a period of time. But if you get interrupted, it's almost nullifying the whole process, the whole concept anyway. And this has been stressing me out because, like I said, work has been crazy. Life throws me personal problems, etc., etc. And then it makes it very hard for me to get enough focus hours uninterrupted. Now, those are the arguments for trying to maintain quality. Let's flip it around. Let's talk about what happens when we talk about what happens when we favor quantity instead. So obviously, it's a lot faster for you to produce content. You're doing rapid fire style. You have more rawness to it because you're trying to do more, and that means you are worrying about it less. So you're pouring quote unquote less effort per content or per video, but you're doing more quantity, obviously. So it's the concept of fail fast, learn fast, right? And the problem becomes when you reach a certain point when you need to start increasing your quality anyway, right? So when do you do that? How do you do that? How much do you do that? And is it worth, like I said, stalling an upload maybe to disrupt that schedule a little bit, just so that you have more time and more breathing room to increase one of the content qualities, whatever aspect you want to choose, right? And then it also begs a question, especially when it comes to platforms like YouTube, where there's longevity to specific types of content. There's certain types of content that does very well for a very long period of time. It becomes this piece that is very high ROI, because some content, depending on the topic, can be very relevant to a lot of people for a long period of time. So people keep watching some of my videos because, hey, even 3 years down the line, it's still very relevant. So some people call this evergreen content. And so sometimes that then can challenge the concept of pumping out more content just for the sake of doing it. Why are you doing that? Why are you pumping 10 pieces of content per month? You're doing it for the sake of doing it? Are you really learning anything? Are you, quote unquote, trying to learn and absorb more things, but at the same time, do you have time to take a breather, sit down, and analyze what you just learned? And then it's not just that. You need to also think about all these things that you've learned, all the things you've read from the data, which can be quite a lot, depending on how much pieces of content you have and how much responses you have. Which ones are you going to work on? And what are you going to do? You need to draft a plan. And then that takes time too. And then that's probably going to interrupt your schedule. So this is interesting because we're already seeing that this whole, doing quantity versus quality is not a straightforward answer already, right? And then the other question is, of course, how strategic can you get when there's not enough data anyway? It could be that you're posting a lot of videos within a month, but not many people view them anyway, and you're not getting that much data anyway. So I'm going to leave it to that. Let it sink in for a bit. And let me know whether or not you are resonating with anything I'm saying right now. Because I find this is a constant dilemma. And this is why I want to talk about this in this particular live stream, because I feel like this is not talked enough, especially with people who are just starting out. They're trying to figure their way. They just got a camera, or maybe they're using just your phone, and they're trying to figure out, how do I even record videos the way that I want in my head, the way I imagine it, the way I look at other creators do certain things. Oh wow, they have that kind of lighting. Wait, do I need lighting? How do they record the screen? Do you need a software? Do I have to pay for that software? Okay, there's so many software. Well, like, which one do I choose? And then once you've bought or chosen a free one, you install it, and then you gotta learn how to use it. Again, these are completely beginners. There's so much process that you gotta get into. You gotta learn so many things, and then you gotta practice so many things, right? And so here's a few conclusions. I'm gonna summarize it into a few points right now. I don't have the right answer now, which a lot of you might be disappointed to hear. Like, oh my God, I just listened to this guy ranting, and then he doesn't have an answer. Sorry to disappoint. But one important point I have is that it's a lot of small steps that leads to big leaps, right? Fail small and often, and you have more chances to bounce back. So if you're doing some insane, super highly produced video and take you so long, and you only produce one of it per 3 months, I don't know, one video per 3 quarters, it's not gonna get millions of views, most likely. And then what's the point, right? You don't get to learn, you don't get to do much. I'm giving an extreme example here, of course. And so the whole concept of the quantity thing, if I were to reiterate what other people say in terms of their advice, it's more about how do you fail small and often, how you, in this way, you have more chances to bounce back and learn faster. Fine. Now, the second point is that I'm looking at my content ratio and trying to figure out what's the right balance. Or rather, I'm rethinking what the word balance with ratio instead. What I mean is that, let's say I want to do 1 video per week, and that's roughly 4 videos a month. I could experiment with 2 pre-recorded videos, 2 normal YouTube videos, and then maybe 2 live streams. So technically I show up every week. Why can't I do that? This is a question I have to ask, and this is something that I'm going to experiment with. And then I do want to encourage all of you watching this right now to think about, first of all, what season are you in? Are you just starting out? Are you still single? You don't have any other responsibilities at home? Are you in the middle of a job where it's very difficult? You have a lot of things you gotta tackle. And then that leads to your season, what kind of season you're in. And within that season, what is your immediate goal and versus your bigger goal? So your short-term goals will reveal your short-term plan and strategies and tactics versus, where does it lead to, right? The other thing that I want you to ask yourself is, just like how I've just demonstrated my content ratio instead of content balance, what's your content ratio? Have you thought about it? Have you tried to experiment with different formats? Maybe one format that is a lot harder to produce, but you think is very important, and it's something that will improve your long-term skills versus maybe 3 other pieces of content that will be easier to produce. Maybe 3 shorts. Some people are saying that, don't mix shorts and long form video into one. Don't mix live stream and YouTube normal videos into the same channel. I don't know. I think YouTube is doing a lot of effort to categorize and also present the right kind of experience to the right kind of users. So there are certain users who like to use YouTube in a certain way, and right now YouTube is trying their best to improve, where do shorts come out, where do live streams appear, how do they appear, right? They're not there yet, but they are improving. They have improved so much compared to a year or 2 ago. So I believe that there's less excuse for you to create another channel just for shorts or another channel just for live stream. I think YouTube is trying to make all those pieces of formats of content, the different formats of content, live happily in one channel. And the other thing about live stream and why I'm doing it as well is I've heard rumors that YouTube is going to explore how to do more podcast-like content. How does that look like? Is it going to be just live stream transformed to podcast content? Is it another format altogether? Is it both or a mixture of both? Nobody knows. But yeah, so part of my experiment here is to also think about a long term, like when they do go that direction and they start promoting maybe longer form content and live streams and podcast format like this one, I will have at least a library of these formats so that I'll be able to take advantage of it and my channel will be able to benefit from that. So that's my thought. So just checking my notes real quick and checking who else is online. We can do some Q&A if there are people in the audience right now who want to ask any questions. Feel free to enter that in the chat. Let me check it real quick. You can also mention in the comments. Of course, I won't be able to respond immediately to comments, but I do read every single comment and I do try my best to reply to all of them afterwards. So some of your feedback is maybe so interesting that I can maybe find a way to incorporate that into future live stream. Maybe it becomes a topic of discussion. Maybe it becomes a normal YouTube video or tutorial that I'll make in the future. So yeah, I read all the comments. Your comments are valuable. So if you're not in the chat, leave it in a comment. Feel free to ask me any questions and give any suggestions as well to whatever you want to see from this channel. In fact, how has it been so far? How do you find this live stream format? I'm just chilling right now, actually. I only have a few bullet points on my screen that I glance through once in a while, but everything else is very off the cuff, unscripted. Anything can go wrong. And I'm enjoying it a bit more. I mean, I get to express myself a bit more. I'm not trimming down content too much. Mistakes are there. It's more organic. We're having a conversation. We're sitting down. We're just chilling. We're chatting, getting to know each other. So I feel that this kind of talk show slash podcast slash live stream format is pretty interesting. I'm hoping that it will balance out the types of formats and contents that I'm doing and give some room for me to show the other side of me, get to know more of you more directly, and also practice my storytelling and unscripted presentation. Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna wait a bit more to see if there's anyone in the live stream, in the chat. Bring some water. By the way, as part of just sharing more about myself, I will be sharing some of my passions, some of my guilty pleasures. I like to wear t-shirts that have statements, and also just so happened that this is one about Star Wars. And I am a Star Wars fan. I have a lightsaber at the back. Okay, it's not here. Somewhere. One of these days I might switch it on and then swing it around for fun. Okay, checking the chat again. Looks like no questions. Okay. If that's the case, I'll be going off now. And thank you for hanging out with me. Have a good evening, and I'll see you in the next show. Bye-bye.